Hi, everyone. My name is Sayel Filias. I'm the lead program learning and development at SAREC. And on behalf of all the SAREC team, I would like to welcome you to today's webinar. And today we are delighted to have Heather McTaggart with us, who will deliver a special webinar called Unlocking Potential with a Changing Up Approach, a holistic and strength-based approach to career development. And in today's session, we'll explore the Changing Up approach and examine its practical application in teaching and counseling, particularly in the context of supporting clients who encounter multiple barriers in their career journeys. But before starting, I want to pay my respect to the original people of the territory upon which I physically sit here in Toronto. For thousands of years, this land has been the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat, the Petun, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, and the Mississauga Anishinaabe of New Credit. I recognize that Indigenous people are the original stewards and caretakers of these lands and of these waters. And I also recognize that today, this meeting place still serves as the home to many Indigenous people from across Tuttle Island. And as you may take a moment to reflect on the lands where you are sitting right now, I would like to share a video that I really like, and it's called Land Acknowledgement and Why They Matter. And for those of you who don't know this video yet, it was created for use at the University of Guelph, and it shares very powerful messages with captivating graphic and a very beautiful song. So I will post the link to this video in the chat in a couple of next minutes. And I really invite anyone else who want to share resources that they like toward reconciliation to do that as well in the chat. Now, I also would like to take a few moments to introduce you to SAREC, for those of you who don't know us yet, and share some housekeeping notes with you. So SAREC is a charitable organization that focuses on education and research in career counseling and career development in Canada. We found projects that create new knowledge and developed innovative resources. We have three main programs. The Connexus National Career Development Conference will be in Ottawa in January in a hybrid format. We also have the CareerWise.ca website, which features the top news and view in the field, with a French version called Orientation.ca, and the Canadian Journal of Career Development, which is free to access. And of course, we deliver the training, learnings, and webinar. So you can learn more about all of the SAREC work and resources by visiting our website at sarec.ca. And also, SAREC is always looking and exploring new webinar and learning opportunity for you. So we'll invite you to stay a bit longer at the end of today's webinar to share your learning needs for 2024 and beyond with us in the very short survey. Now, just a couple of housekeeping notes for today's webinar. So you can interact with Heather and ask your question or share your comment at any time by using the Q&A function that you see on your screen. And toward the end of the webinar, we will have a dedicated Q&A session, where you will have the opportunity to unmute yourself or to ask your question through the chat, as you prefer. And also, please note that we'll send you the recording of today's webinar and a copy of the presentation within the next 24 hours. Now, I would like to introduce you to our presenter, Heather McTaggart. Heather is the founder and executive director of Classroom Connections and of the federally funded Changing Up Skills Development Programs. She has extensive experience training educators and professionals nationwide with this strength-based approach. Heather has also written over 25 curriculum packages, such as the award-winning Cultivating Peace program, Literacy Connection, and The Gathering Place, in use in school and community throughout Canada and beyond. So we are very thrilled to have Heather with us today to learn more about the Changing Up approach and how it has been using as a holistic approach in teaching and counseling. So let's not wait any longer to have her start her presentation. So over to you, Heather.
Thank you very much, Sorel. And I'm going to take a minute to share my screen and hopefully have it come up in PowerPoint mode. Yes?
Yes, all good.
PowerPoint mode. Okay, great. And I appreciate, for example, Lisa, and there were a couple of others leaving their camera on, because then I can look and see an actual face as opposed to looking at my own slides all the time. So thank you. And if a couple of people want to put their camera on, that would be great. Unfortunately, the top two spaces are really you and Cyril, so I've only got one, but maybe I can. At least I'm seeing Lisa. So oh, good, there you are, Lisa. It's great to see you. So thank you very much for being here, everybody. It's pretty exciting that there's this much interest in this topic, and I am thrilled to be here. So I'm going to just get started because we've got a little agenda, and I can share that with you in a second. Okay, now why is that not sharing? Why is that not moving?
I started Classroom Connections in 1997. I had young children at the time, and I was quite concerned about a number of the things that were happening in the education system, and that it seemed that, you know, it's similar to my own experience, that the system didn't fit lots of kids. We would make great resources and find other people to pay for them and give them free to schools and improve education. And it worked. We had resources that are in every school in the country pretty much, and we got great feedback, but it wasn't really changing things. And so in 2010, we began working within First Nations communities on the project called Change It Up. And a wonderful man named Derek Bruno came from Samson Cree Nation as our first facilitator.
For me, I think the fact that the Change It Up program has been very much informed by the Indigenous experience, I think makes it a really unique program.
We ran it for over 10 years consecutively with, 6-month full-time programs with 15 to 20 people. And the results were amazing. We had retention always in the 80s. And then of the people that stayed, we had in the 80s all the time, either employment or further education after the program.
What I've seen is that the program works. The curriculum is incredibly hands-on and learner-centered, and it's the approach, the philosophy of Change It Up where the magic is. That's why I'm thrilled to be part of the team that is bringing the Change It Up professional development training to facilitators, social workers, teachers, and frontline workers in Alberta and right across Canada.
They took what we learned and what we already had and built on it.
I would recommend this course for every employer out there, every school out there.
To be really honest with you, I really like what they've done. The fact is that we're all just trying to walk this path, and we all need to do change. We all need to have change a part of our life.
So there are 3 components of Change It Up. The first is the on-the-ground program that we ran in First Nations communities for over 10 years with huge success. The second is the curriculum, the material that we used and that was developed over that time to help people understand and learn soft skills that would enable them to get to the next place they wanted to in their life, but actually stick there as well. And when we started sharing that curriculum and those materials, we realized that there was another piece missing. Because although that content was really great, it's the how. It's the how you deliver, how you interact with people, how you work with them. That's even more important. The professional development is 10 hours online with a group and 10 hours asynchronous. So it's 20-hour training program, and we're able to offer that free to people that are working with others to help make a difference in their lives and help them get to the place they want to be.
What we're bringing to the table is a set of tools and knowledge that organizations, depending whether you're a teacher or a social worker or even an entrepreneur, that you can use within your organization to help impact your students, your staff, and your colleagues.
Just wanted to wait there so that we could get the government logos, which is very important because that's how we are currently able to offer this free. But I'm going to back up a little bit. I use that because there's a lot of content in only 3 minutes. But this is what we're going to be discussing today. So we're going to take a little bit deeper look at what we learned during this period where we were working with First Nations communities. A little bit more about the how versus the what we consider the Fab 5 of working with people. And then at the end, there's some takeaways. There's some free things and goodies at the end. So stay tuned. And I'm going to make sure to leave quite a bit of time for questions and for conversation. Because I think that's important, and I'd like to hear the things that you are wondering about. So before we get into that, this is a little question for you, and Cyril's going to do it as a bit of a quiz. Who was your favorite teacher? Think about this person, and you'll see there's a reason why I'm talking about, regular school, which is what probably most of you are not involved in now, but there's some relevance to this. So think about who your favorite teacher was and the kind of qualities they had. And then we're going to take this poll to see, was your favorite teacher more like teacher A? So somebody who was an incredible subject expert, like knew their subject, maybe they even had a PhD. They had very well organized lessons and materials, and they were really structured. Or were they more like teacher B? Somebody who seemed to get you, who let the class mess around with ideas and concepts and figure things out on their own, and who built a relationship with you. So Cyril, can you find out if we've got more A's or more B's?
All right, so we're close to 70% of our attendee, maybe like a half a second before I close. All right, let me share that.
Yes. So, and this is often what we find. In fact, actually, with some groups I present to, 100% of people say B. Now, obviously, there's nobody that's just one or the other, but it's interesting that the B is, what most people are remembering as the teacher that had a big impact on them. And that's a good thing for us, because why is my screen not advancing? There we go. Because what we're going to be talking about today is about the B, is how do you be that kind of a person, whether you're teaching, whether you're counseling, whether you're leading, whether you're advising. And the reason is that for lots and lots of people, A doesn't work. And the kind of background reason for that is that the system, the education system, was built for a very certain type of person. And we have taken a lot from the K-12 system, and it's, kind of, you can see it at universities, you can see it in training programs, you can see it in other kinds of trainings and other, even meetings that are kind of run in a similar way that school is. And that's great for the type of person that it was built for. And just if you're wondering who that is, here she is. So this is the person who loves to get it right. Is happy to sit still and be good and wait for their turn, put their hand up, wants to know where that bar is so they can jump over that bar, and is very much rewarded by, praise and marks and things like that. And that's great. And probably some of the people here are this learner or this participant. And that's great for you guys, because most of the systems are built like that. And there's a big fit. Problem is, there are lots of people that are not her, that do not fit, and for whom traditional school or the traditional way training is done is not a great fit. And we had been, as I said in the video, we had been making educational programming for over 10 years, but we realized that systems and things weren't changing, and had this idea that if we could work in a place where clearly the regular system was not working at all, and try different approaches with a goal of engaging and inspiring all clients, all learners, that maybe we could, figure a few things out. So that was the genesis of the Change It Up program, which we initially ran in Chippewa Prairie, and the guy Derek from the video came to be the first facilitator. His objective was to see, does this woman know what she's talking about? And if she does, I'm going to bring this to my community. And so that's what happened. We ran 2 sessions in Chippewa Prairie, which is, just for context, in northern Alberta, sort of near Fort McMurray. And then we brought the program to Derek's community of Musquecheese, which is between Edmonton and Red Deer. And we ran full-time 6-month programs for around 20 people consecutively for over 10 years. So we had a lot of time running this program. And there was always a different flavor to it. You can see some of them here. But there was a core set of material, both content in terms of curriculum and workshops, but also of philosophy that stayed the same throughout. Our goal really was to help people to get from where they were to a better place, and to help them remember that they have gifts and abilities and a desire to succeed. Because I would say everybody that came into the program hadn't remembered that, and they just needed some reminders to get there. So I'll give you a little bit of an overview of the content, just so you say, here it is, all 200 pages of the actual curriculum. And the sections are divided into kind of, getting the conditions right. This content is not subject specific. So it's not about trades, it's not about entrepreneurship, it's not about math, it's none of those things. It's more preparing people to learn and to succeed at whatever is next. So some of the things that happen here can be like creating core agreements. This workshop is a great workshop. Let's say you have a committee that is designing something or doing something, and they're going to be working together for several meetings. Running this workshop first helps to determine how is that group going to work together? What's going to happen if things go off the rails? How are we going to respect each other? How are we going to speak to each other? And then it leads into how are we going to give feedback? So it can be used in any context, whether it's counseling or just meeting. And the second section really helps people identify their strengths and be open to learning. If you've had bad experiences in school or in training, you don't come in with an open mindset. So sometimes some work needs to be done to help people see, okay, yeah, there is a way that I'm smart. I can get it. And it might be nice to try and participate in this new opportunity. Visualizing yourself in the future, setting goals, and managing stress are important to those things as well. This last section really hits on the fact that what we found, in a community with 92% unemployment, we found that it wasn't because people lacked the hard skills. It wasn't like math or technical, building abilities or literacy that kept from getting and keeping a job. It was the soft stuff. It was letting their life get in the way. Not being able to delay gratification. It was those softer kinds of things that were the true barriers to getting and keeping that job. So this strand is all about helping to address that. So the other part is, I just showed you the manual and you've seen the sections and you're thinking, well, how could that possibly be 6 months? It is if you did every single thing in here and you followed the links and the additions and things like that. You can also cherry pick and just do, 1 or 2 things. There's not any need to do the whole thing. But part of the reason it takes a while is that it is designed very, very intentionally. It's all participant centered. Very much leans into being experientially based, spiraling information. So a concept is brought up and discussed and maybe worked with, and then it goes away and then it comes back and then it comes back again. So people can see things and have a different way to look at something in multiple opportunities, multiple ways of learning. And designed also to create aha moments, to give enough information and enough content where people can then make the leap themselves, because the kind of learning that you discover on your own is the most powerful and the most likely to stick. So as mentioned in the video, the results were phenomenal, particularly for running something in a community that was, in several communities that were tough places to be. Chippewa Prairie was like very much in the north and not surrounded by many things, and Musquecheese is a 4 reserve band, so there's 4 different communities there. So what did we learn? And this is, what did we learn writ large of the whole, 11-year experience? And the main thing was that the how was so much more important than the what. Yes, the content was great, but it was how the facilitator delivered it. And we had many different facilitators over the years. And so we saw different hows and realized that that was a key thing to the success. And it was referred to in your pre-material, which is, how do we help people learn and grow? How do we create experiences with deep results? And how do we build on strengths? So I'm going to go back to this. Most of you said the teacher that was your favorite was teacher B, was the one who got to know you, you got to know, and who let you kind of mess around with ideas and concepts and figure things out on your own. And that's because in general, facilitating learning is much more powerful than teaching content or sharing content. If it's content driven, it's generally more teaching. If it's facilitating, it's things like being the guide on the side where the process is important. It's kind of like the difference between being a pilot and an air traffic controller. So that's why we talk a lot about being a facilitator of learning. The reason is that it has a better impact. It's simple. It's much more impactful to help people come up with their own ahas than to just hand out information. Collaborative, interactive, and exploration-based learning sticks. So it's not the easiest, it's not the most efficient, but if you're after an easy and efficient, fine. But if you want stuff to stick, if you actually want to create an impact, help people grow and change, then facilitating and doing it well with the how in mind is more important. We found that we had these sort of 5 principles. So we decided to call them the Fab 5, and they apply to facilitating anything. They even apply to conversations, small meetings, family, husbands, wives. They're applicable in many different situations. So the first one is, and I'm going to use photos mostly from the programs that we ran. This is our cook team we started a social enterprise restaurant called Nipsey's Cafe. And this is the cook team from that program. And strength-based is not what we normally do. Our education system is deficit-based. Our healthcare system is deficit-based. What's wrong and how do we fix it? Let's figure out your problem. Let's spend a lot of time working on your problem. And then let's give you more practice to get better. So you're bad at French? Excellent. We're going to do more French, and then later we'll do some more French. Not what are you good at and how do we let you dive into that in a way that has you explore it so much that you then suddenly, okay, I'm terrible at math, I'm great at arts, I'm discovering this. Hey, I need measurement and math to be able to create the right size of canvas and gauge how much material I need to create the art I want. So it is very possible to learn many other things through the things that we're good at. And this is what we feel is a key element of this approach, is to be strength-based. Hands-on. Humans learn by doing. It's just a fact. That is what we have done for millions of years. Now, doesn't mean you have to go out and make a garden like they're happening here, but there's ways to take any subject and help people kind of do it in a hands-on or experiential way. Learner-centered. Now, every K-12 system will have somewhere in their mission statement that learners are the center of all we do. This is not true. It is just not true. And even though the system is, and some systems are trying to get there, we generally do what is most convenient for the system, for the educators, for the administrators, not what is best for the learner. And that's because it's hard and it takes more time and it might be more costly. But if you want something to stick, you need to do it in a way that actually works for that learner. So for example, this is my friend Kiefer here. And he needed some one-on-one. He needed quiet, needed another space, and not to do everything with the group. Holistic. So holistic is a concept we know. In Cree, it is called Newio. And actually, Newio is the term that the Cree people call themselves. And what that literally means is 4-part being. And those 4 parts are mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. And that is what the whole human being is about, is having that 4 parts. Well, this is not just for Cree people. This is for all people. We are all those 4 parts. And paying attention to them in a learning environment, in a coaching environment, is just as important as it is for your overall health and well-being to pay attention to those 4 parts. The big one, trauma aware. So this slide is very specific to one of the cohorts that we ran, a 6-month program with 20 people in it. These things are things that happened in the community, not just the community at large, but in the community that were directly related to our participants. So for example, there were 4 fatal car crashes. In one of those crashes, there were 6 people in the car, 3 sisters who all had children. And those 6 people were directly related to, there was nobody in our program that was not related to one of those people that died. So the impact of things going on in the community was huge within the program. Trauma aware does not mean that you now suddenly have a PhD in psychology and you understand, every single thing about trauma. We talk about trauma awareness in terms of the mind-body connection. So there's trauma, and we all have it, right? So either we have this much trauma that we've experienced or this much, depending on your life. But everybody's had some trauma. The question is, when do you get triggered and how do you get triggered? And when we're training and when we're working with people, obviously we try to create, safe, warm, welcoming spaces. It's almost impossible to create a truly safe space. So we talk about safer spaces and brave spaces where you're okay to be vulnerable. But as a facilitator and as a coach, understanding the triggers and what the, not what triggers, but what the triggers look like. So fight, flight, freeze, bad behavior can all be triggers, all be examples of being triggered through trauma. And there are techniques such as deep breathing, mindfulness, visualization, that we teach people that are working with others so that they understand how can they help their clients get from the reptilian brain to the thinking brain and calm their nervous system down so that they could learn. When you're in fight or flight, you're not learning anything. It does not matter how engaging the subject is, you are not learning. So these are the Fab 5, as we call them. Hands-on, do it learning by doing, learner-centered. They're in the middle. It's most important what works for them. Understanding trauma and how it can impact people and what to do to help calm them down if they get traumatized or triggered. Holistic, so considering mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, the whole person, and strength-based. So we're going to do a little activity, I think, but I can't see enough people. Cyril, maybe you can see enough people. But if you look at the first one, hands-on, what's something you can do with your hands or your face to demonstrate hands-on? Cyril, you're the only one I can see, so you're going to have to do this.
You can actually change your view because there's a lot of people with their
Okay,
work.
good. How do I change my view? Oh, I know. I see this. Where it is? A little bit more people. It doesn't want me to do that. I keep going to change my view. Oh, see, instead I went to the other thing. Hold on, we're going to go back. More. There we go. No. So how do I get more people?
So you can change the
There,
view.
there. Okay, that helped a little bit.
You get it?
Yeah. Okay, so give me hands-on. What's a something you can do with your physical self that would demonstrate hands-on? Okay, I'm not looking at anybody that's doing that. So I'm going to say this, right? So just putting your hands like that, hands-on. The next one, learner-centered. We could say, point to ourselves. That could be the physical gesture for learner-centered. Trauma-aware, holding your head. Holistic, the links. Now I can't see. And then strength-based, well, that's easy. We can do that. Now, here's the reason that I did that. So what is the first graphic represent? You guys are going to have to think about that, but I'm going to, since it's hard to interact, I'm going to say hands-on, and our physical symbol was this. Second one, the bullseye, is learner-centered. So pointing to yourself. Third one, trauma aware. Fourth one, holistic. And the fifth one, strength-based. So I did that little thing to just give you a really quick example of how you can get people moving and thinking from different parts of themselves. So that is one tiny example of something that might happen, during the training, or that you can take advantage of with learners. The Fab Five, you can see that the strength-based part is in the middle, because it is really the crux of things. And the others, support that philosophy of being very strength-based. So what did we do about all this? So we had this kind of problem at the end of our last funding, where we were running on the ground programming, which was that we were tasked with sharing our results and sharing our approach, because we'd had such good success. But we realized that just handing out this, giant curriculum package was not going to do it. That we needed to really help the people that were helping to understand this approach and to be able to use it in ways that worked for them. And so that's when we started doing the Change It Up professional development training online in small groups, very interactive, Zoom-based, so 15 people, so that it can be very interactive. It's not like a one-to-many like this. Get an experience of the how of the approach. And then, because you have understood what is about and how do you deliver it, then all the curriculum, because then the curriculum makes way more sense. So in 2020 and 2021, we trained over 123 people in the pilot project, and the results were so good and the feedback was so strong that the federal government, the Skills for Success portion of Employment and Skills Development Canada, provided us funding to cover the tuition for 1,400 people across the country. We're at about 1,100 who have either taken it or are registered. So we are getting towards our goal. So at the beginning, when people register, we always ask them, and I think I'm going to share some of this with you because I think it's relevant. What is your big why? Like, why are you taking this training? And I really love this person's response, because it is so it's so kind of all-encompassing. I aim to deepen my understanding of how trauma and stress impacts learners and enhance my skill in active listening, asking questions, and employing strength-based approaches. And from the second part, I'm eager to gain practical techniques for facilitating groups and creating a more supportive and effective learning environment. These are three more that I picked out. The second one really got me. So I read the applications for every single person that's ever signed up for the training, because I get a lot of insight. And I tell you, when I read, I'm working with refugees and they're struggling in every area of their life, that really hit me. And it's wonderful to know that, people are seeing this as an opportunity to make a difference in that area, because they do have clients that are struggling. So this is what the PD looks like. As I said, 10 hours online, 4 sessions of 2.5 hours. There's pre and post work, which adds up to, somewhere between 5 to 10 hours, depending on how quickly you go through things. It's important though, because we don't give you pre-work that then we repeat in the sessions. It's in addition to what you're going to experience during the sessions. And this experience is the right word, because it is very hands-on and experiential, because obviously we're walking our talk during the training. The sessions are divided into 4 parts, 4 sessions, I should say, being strength-based delivery being the first big topic of the first day, then trauma awareness, learning techniques to help people who may be triggered, facilitation skills in general, and then what it's going to look like going forward. How might you use the materials? How are you going to apply this learning to what you're doing? At the end, all of that adds up, all of the pre-work you did adds up to the facilitator guide, which is another 100 pages. But during the training, you've gone through that. So at the end, you get both the curriculum and the facilitator guide. As I said, the feedback has been actually shockingly good, really, really positive. But I wanted to give you a couple of specific ones And I think the second one's interesting because it really speaks to that learner-centered part. She's saying I had to remember the individual in the work, right? Not just the content, but the individual at the center of that work. This one I thought was very nice because it talks about, why we think this is a great fit for human service professionals because of the complex needs of clients, of students, of colleagues, and this is a way to help ensure that you're speaking to people's listening. And that is a big part of what the professional development is about. So I've got another quote that I think I might read this quote now because I think we have time to do that. So this morning, I wake up to, okay, now I've got to find it. I wake up to this LinkedIn post from Daisy Wright, who is a Chief Encouragement Officer and award-winning certified coach helping emerging leaders, executives, and mid-level professionals find satisfying careers. So she says, I'm thrilled to announce that I've completed the Change It Up facilitation program. With this training, I augmented my facilitation skills that can be applied in the coaching work that I do, helping clients create plans and supporting them in making progress towards their goals, their career goals. As one of the 15 participants in the cohort, I gained a lot from the group engagement, learned new skills, and appreciated that the program is strength-based and inclusive. By investing the time in professional development, I have not only enhanced my knowledge and skills, but demonstrated my commitment to continuous learning. It was also a way to practice what I often preach to my clients. I have earned an additional hours that can be used towards my ACC and CCDP certification. If you're looking to upskill or reskill in the areas of facilitating or coaching, consider this program. It's pretty intensive, requires a fair bit of reading, but it's worth the time and effort, and it's free. Well, there's no cost to the participants. Congratulations to me and the 14 other participants. I'm sure we have all come away with new skills added to our coaching toolkits. I thought about just posting this on the slide and then saying, there you go, because this woman has really captured the whole thing. And it was pretty interesting coincidence to get that post this morning. Okay, so here's the question. Is this for you? We're going to do a quiz. Record how many yeses you have to this first set of questions. So, do you work with refugees and newcomers? Do you support people who may have experienced trauma? Just make ticks beside, just make ticks so that you know how many yeses you've got. Do you work with people from diverse backgrounds or who have diverse abilities and skills? Clients with multiple challenges. Do you work with groups? Do you see value in running workshops or in using material that help people understand their own value and be open to growth and change? And are you interested in improving your own self-care practices? And do you like learning and sharing ideas and things? So how many yeses did you get? Just keep that number aside. And then let's look at part 2. And in this one, we're going to keep track of how many no's we have. Do you have formal training in facilitating groups? Do you have expertise in trauma? And have you taken any training with the Center for Mind-Body Medicine? So you are a great fit if your answers in part 1 were mostly yes, if your answers in part 2 were mostly no, and if your answers are mixed, but you're just a gung-ho person and you want to do the training anyway. So here's the handouts and the freebies. Cyril, you're going to put the link to the free download. So we're actually giving you 2 workshops. The one that is about open to skill development, getting people understanding what skills, what is skill development, what is that going to look like? And then being open to learning. They are intensive. There's a lot of information and a lot of things that you can do in there, or you can cherry pick and just run little bits or little exercises that are in it. And the second part is that I'm inviting you to get while the getting's good, because we are pretty sure that all of the programs that are open right now, which we have up on the website, December, January, February, and March, that the funding, the $3,200 tuition fees will be covered by the government. Obviously, we're going to put something up when that changes, and we're looking for ways to extend that. But right now, that's what we know we've got. So all you do is go to changeitup.ca. You can look. The video that you saw at the beginning is there. There's a lot more information. There's lots of information on the background. And then there's a registration page at the top, and you can just pick a session that works the best for you. Now I'm going to stop and see what questions you have. You are also welcome to email me, and there is the website again. Maybe I'll leave that up for a minute and then take it down so that we can have a Q&A, which is my favorite part.
Thank you so much, Heather, for these very interesting presentation. So yes, as Heather said, feel free to post in the Q&A section or in the chat. We'll start with the first question from Lydia. How long is the program when we facilitate with clients?
Okay, so I'm not sure which way they're asking that question. So the program, the PD is 10 hours live, 4 sessions of 2.5 hours. Our curriculum, if you facilitated the entire thing and added in some group work and projects and experiential things, it could be as much as 6 months. Or you can cherry pick and just take the things that you want, and you could run, a couple of workshops in a workshop or a part of a workshop in an afternoon. So it entirely depends. And the reason we are doing the professional development is we want to make sure that people understand the approach in a deep way. Once you do it by going through the training, then we trust you and we just give you the material and let you use it in whatever way makes the most sense for you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Heather. And also I remind you all that if ever you want to ask a question verbally to Heather, you are now able to unmute yourself. Heather, I have another question for you. So Lucy is asking, is there any workshop that help us deal with trauma?
Yes. Okay. So yes and no. So the workshops that help you deal with trauma are in the professional development. In the curriculum itself, there is not a trauma-specific workshop. Rather, the material is all designed, and the workshops are designed that if people might get triggered, there's things to do about that. So, it's the thoughtfulness of the way the material is designed that might help. It's not we're not giving you content to do trauma training with people. We're giving you the skills to be able to deal with trauma or being triggered if that comes up while you're working with somebody.
Perfect. Thank you, Heather. We have a question from Joy in the chat. Did I hear that probably there is funding for us to take this PD and it's free for us to register? I will let you answer, Heather.
Yeah, you know what? That's the biggest question. No matter how many times I'd say it's free, it's hard to believe because it's really good, and yet it is still free. And the reason is that we had very nice funding from Employment and Skills Development Canada, and they are paying the full tuition, which covers the training and all of the curriculum material that you get and the facilitator guide. So right now it's free. The cohorts that we have listed up on the website now, those places will all be free. But my suggestion is, if you're interested, register now, because we don't know what will happen after we complete the 1,400 seats that we have. And we're, as I said, about 300 away from doing that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Heather. As the moderator, I am happy also to read the positive comment on the chat. Caitlin was saying it has been very helpful. Thank you for creating a facilitation resources and programming that encompasses people, diverse background and ability. I will be looking into taking this training and also passing along this information to my colleagues in literacy and basic skills. Thank you, Kathleen, for your comment. Hilary is asking, are the free resources only available to those who live in Canada?
So it's a bit of a tricky question. If you are Canadian and you're working somewhere else and you take the training, it is still free because you're Canadian and you might come back and use your skills in Canada. Or maybe you're helping people that before they immigrate to Canada. So if you are from another country, and I noticed that there were actually several people registered from different places around the world, then email me and we'll see if we can figure something out, because we are interested in expanding this eventually. Our main concern right now is people living and working in Canada, but we are interested in expanding, and we are getting interest in doing that as well. So hm@changeitup.ca, and we can talk.
Awesome. And Heather, a little earlier, I think we had a little confusion about, you mentioned like the pre-read materials. I anticipate that you were referring to the pre-read material for people who enroll in the Changing Up program, right? So if you were not mentioning pre-read material for this specific webinar, I don't think so, but okay, I wanted to double check that with you. So yeah, you will access pre-read material if you enroll that. Thank you.
Yeah, and so as soon as you enroll, you get a thing that says, congratulations, you're signed up for this course, and then the pre-material comes 2 weeks before the first session, and then it comes between each session. So we give it to you in chunks, not the giant thing at the beginning.
Awesome, thank you. Lorna is asking, is there any skills for success content in the training?
Yes, big time. And in the curriculum, we break it all down. So there's checklists, learning checklists, so that people can do metacognition and understand when they are learning the skills for success, and also tools to help the facilitators see how they're teaching the skills for success. Because it was sponsored originally by Skills for Success, there's a big component of that in there. And if that's not something that concerns you, it's still beneficial, because these are skills that everybody needs to be able to function well. So it's a good thing no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Thank you, Heather. Mary's asking, how can I access the complete workshop package?
By doing the training. So we don't give out the complete package until you've done the training. And that's because the why, the how, is more important than the what, right? So we want to make sure that you understand the philosophy, because we've had, if you give this curriculum as well developed and thoughtful as it is to somebody that's going to deliver it like a sergeant major, it won't land. So the PD is about absorbing and experiencing the Fab 5 way of delivering content.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so a lot of questions. I love that. So Ikari is asking, are the sessions happening daytime? What if I miss some session due to work?
Okay, yeah, there's most of the sessions in the day. We have one evening session in case that's better for people. We really encourage you to sign up in a way that will allow you to go to all 4 sessions. If if something goes wrong, you're sick, your baby's sick, then we do record each session, and that can be sent to you. And so you can still complete if you only miss one, but it's a good idea to try not to, because it's not just delivered. It is very interactive. It's also helpful because people have said to us, wow, I feel much more prepared to deliver Zoom training if I need to, because we demonstrate a lot of techniques of making that come alive.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Heather. All right, I have a question from James. So Indigenous culture is predominantly oral versus read-write. In what way do you adapt the content to match their learning styles?
Well, we didn't have to adapt the content because it was entirely delivered within First Nations communities right from the get-go. So, I mean, the design was done with that at the beginning. And the way that the main answer to that is it's a lot of hands-on. Yes, there is reading components, because obviously if we want people are going to go to work, they need to be literate. But a lot of the learning is done in a very experiential way, and that is all how the workshops are designed and set up. And you'll even be able to see that by the 2 that you're going to get access to after this. So I think that answers that question. If not, please unmute yourself and and ask me something that'll make me answer the proper question properly.
Yeah, good reminder. Like, feel free to unmute yourself, guys, if you prefer. But in the meantime, I'm continuing reading through your chat and also Q&A question in the Q&A section. So Filaretti, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right, but can the training be provided in an organization in order to benefit everyone working with heavily barrier clients? Do you provide a facilitator, and is it still free?
I love that question, and I would have asked it if nobody did. So there's two. Yes, we are happy to train a whole organization, and we've done this in multiple situations. And in many ways, it's the best thing because there's a common language that you learn doing this training. And if your whole team or your whole organization has done it, it just raises the tide for everybody. So there's two ways to do it. One is to share the link to registration and say to people, sign up for a group that works for you, because that depends on people's schedules. The other way is to email me and say, we have a group of at least 15 people and we want to set up a time that works for us. And then we will still run the online training in Zoom with 2 facilitators. Every one of our programs has two people from Change It Up and a group of 15. Of course, sometimes it ends up being 17, sometimes it's 14, but it's in that range. We will do a group. If you want to go Sunday morning at 5 a.m. and run your training, we can make that happen. I might have to twist arms of some of the facilitators, but we actually can do that. So yes, we run a couple in person. It's not really designed for that because we designed it to be run via Zoom, which I think actually makes it why it works on Zoom, because it was designed that way. So we would really strongly say to people, even if you've got a group in person, we have done things where people come in and they're all in the room together on their laptops. And then during breaks and during the before and after, they interact. And that's a good way to do it too. But again, you can email me and we can talk about these options.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. We had a similar question from Tammy, but I think you answered it already. But he was wondering, if a team of employment counselor, would you recommend the program manager to take the training solo, or best to have all of them taking the training at the same time? So I think it's a slightly different.
Yeah, it's actually a great question. So if you want to find out if it's right for your organization, I definitely suggest that that somebody senior take the training first. Although you have to do it fast because you don't want to then not get seats, because we are getting down. But if you're positive you already want everybody to go, then just have everybody sign up. So the manager thing, we've only had one situation where the team lead was taking the training at the same time as all of her reports. The reports were very quiet. Even though it looked like a kind of a flat organization where this wouldn't happen, they hardly said anything because they were so self-conscious with their leader being there. So, if you think that might be a situation, then maybe, the manager goes to one training and you send people to others. It depends on your organization. I hope that answered that question.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you, Heather. Speaking of having a whole team securing dates, someone asked, if I suggest 2024 dates but need to change them, will that still be possible, or should I only choose date once I know I can attend all of the session?
That's a good question. I would say register now with your best guess of what you think is going to work. And if you get to 2 weeks before or a month before and that's not going to work, then you can email us, and we have a system for doing that, and we can put you into another cohort that's open. But there will be fewer options by the time that happens. So pick the one that you think is your best option. If you have registered and none of the upcoming ones are open, we will still figure out a way to get you this training. We're not going to say, oh, too bad for you. You missed out. We will still deliver it.
Awesome. Thank you, Heather. All right. So we might leave an additional 1 minute or so. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to post them now. I have a question. Where was that? Yes. Safia asked, do we get any certificate at the completion?
Yes, you do. So there's an actual physical certificate that you get, and you can print it off and hang it on your wall. And as I think somebody in one of the comments that I read, it does count towards several professional designations, and as ongoing training. Almost everybody that we've had that then applied to have this count as ongoing part of their ongoing certification said yes. So that it does work for that as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I love it when you share on LinkedIn and other places to say, woohoo.
And she might read your comment on another
Exactly.
webinar, so it's awesome. Okay, I think you already answered that to be only for Canadian, but maybe you can answer the Brandon question. So he said, like, is it possible for someone on a Canadian student work permit to do the training? I'm thinking of someone who is working with other international students, where this will be helpful.
Yes. So if you're in Canada for 100%, you can take the training.
Okay.
If you're Canadian working somewhere else, you can still take the training. If you're a New Zealander working in New Zealand, let's talk and we'll figure out, we certainly welcome people to take the training and pay for it if they're not, if they won't fall under our funding, but also we can talk about, other ways to make that possible.
All right. Thank you so much, Heather. It was really wonderful to see all those questions coming and comments. Thank you all for your very great engagement. I will encourage you to, we share a couple of times in the chat, but I will really encourage you to reach out to Heather if you have any more questions, or know that the lobby chat is actually still open if you have any question. But mindful of time, I would like really to thank you, Heather, for your presentation today. It has been very interesting to learn about the program, how it all started, and how we understand the core principle and how it can be used and infused in our teaching and facilitating. So thank you for this overview. And one more time, thank you all for your participation. I will encourage you to access the free workshop that Heather put in the chat, and also visit their website for more information. And I will also like to invite you to stay with us for a few more minutes to fill out our survey and share also your learning need with us for 2024 and beyond. But before, I just want to share some information and other learning initiatives that you may want to engage with at CEREC. So you may know us for that, but CEREC will be hosting our national conference, CanAccess, in a hybrid format in January of next year. So our 2 programs have been released last week and include more than 100 amazing learning opportunities. So you can learn more or register on our website at canaccess.ca, and note that the early bird rates end on November 10. And you can also see on your screen that we'll be busy doing webinar in the fall. So you can find other excellent webinar happening over the next few weeks, covering various topics such as unconscious bias in job search, how to support the integration of refugee, how to use the ACT metrics and career development, or how to launch and run your practice as an independent practitioner. So you can learn more and register at cerec.ca/webinar. And with all that said, I will now open our quick survey for you to share your feedback on this series. So what I will do, I will officially close and leave that open for the 5-10 minutes for you to enter your comments. But I would like to officially conclude by thanking you one more time, Heather, for this very great presentation. Thanking you all again for your great participation. And I really hope that I will see you at another learning opportunity. So I will hope, and I will open the survey, and thank you all for your comments.